While you imagine your future family, you always dream of your children looking a certain way, but the ideal child has been taken to extremes. Designer babies are becoming increasingly popular in Eastern countries. However, the science has not been perfected yet, which is causing many issues with birth and defects. There's also many issues with bioethics that are causing quite a stir, such as in Iceland. According to a CBS News outlet, because of early genetic screenings, the country has nearly eradicated Down syndrome, but through the aborting of the defective babies. But it's not only in Iceland. Other countries are latching onto the trend, including France, Denmark, and in Australia. So since 1990, when the screening became popular, the diagnosed pregnancy rate has increased, and the terminated pregnancies has also increased to a very alarming rate. Bioethics will not only change humans and their nature, but it discredits God and his perfect creation. Bioethics is changing humanity and what it means to be human. People are starting to have children not to be loved, but to be used. In the story, Designer Babies, One Step Closer, it says, Joe's son Joshua has diamond black fan anemia, a condition that usually occurs as a spontaneous genetic mutation. If the affected individual reaches reproductive age, the trait is usually heritable as an autoimmune dominant disease. Joshua has to receive repeated blood transfusions to counteract his inability to produce red blood cells, which carry oxygen to the various parts of his body. The only cure for this condition is a stem cell transplant from a compatible donor. Joshua's older brother is not a compatible donor, and the chance of any future siblings being compatible is 1 in 4. The Fletchers hope to improve those odds significantly by using a technique known as pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. Human life would be created for the purpose of benefiting others. In this case, a brother and the parents. Then this becomes a serious ethical concern. So, should the child be created specifically to save another person's life, or would the child be welcomed into the family and loved unconditionally, regardless of his or her instrumental value in helping someone? So one of the huge issues with that is that this family is bringing another child, another financial need into the family, but it's only to benefit and save the life of the other child, which is an imbalance in the power of that family. And then the next one was people have begun to lose the understanding of humanity and the desire to genetically improve. So a story from the Ends Don't Justify the Genes. There was a couple who themselves were deaf and lesbians, and a sperm bank would not provide them with a deaf donor, so they found one themselves. And their statement was that we wanted to increase the chances of having a baby who is deaf. And they succeeded, and their baby is quite deaf. They claimed their attempt to maximize their happiness was legit, but was it? So preventing a child from hearing harms the child. It then limits and disadvantages the child. And would we not condemn parents who took a tool and intentionally destroyed their child's ability to hear? Which is what the parents essentially did, because they took a genetic tool before the child was even born to harm it in a way. And then the final story was that cloning may become a new way to protect human life, but is it truly human? This is not the way that God intended for our life to be contained. So if one is to die, they die. And we do not determine our own fate, and we cannot truly cheat death. So a story from Cloning and Stem Cell Research, Wrong Motives on Both Sides of the Atlantic, it said, it is indeed difficult to accept the disability or premature death of any human being because such tragedy marks the loss of potential. Who might the person have become? What might she have accomplished? Yet precisely the same potential is lost when a human embryo, cloned or not, is torn apart to supply stem cells for the benefit of another. Who would these embryonic beings have become if only they had been protected and nurtured? So bioethics is then an act against God. In Genesis 1:7, it said, Then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And the man became a living being. It went on to say, So the Lord God caused the man to fall asleep into a deep sleep. And while he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs and then closed up the place with flesh. Then the Lord God made a woman from the rib he had taken out of the man, and he brought her to the man. God has made us a certain way, and we were born as he intends, and we should die as he intends. We were made to be counterparts, and everyone has one, and to To deprive a person of who they are from birth or so on is criminal and an act against God himself. And then in Genesis 1:27, it said, "So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them." God made everyone in his image, and to change that even before someone is born is to tell God that he is not good enough and to tell him that we can do better, and that will cause God to bring wrath because he does not like to be disobeyed. So bioethic not only changes humans and their nature, but it discredits God and his perfect creation. God did not intend for us to change our genetic makeup, thus the humanistic properties are beginning to change and humans are becoming less